Conversations with Azu Ishekwene.
Our last episode was about a phony head of state, a charlatan, a pretender in the West African state of Burkina Faso. And with the evidence available to us, we didn't fight shy of saying he is an impostor. Today, we want to talk about the very opposite of charlatanism. In a world full of deceit and shady characters, it is heartwarming to find folks who intentionally remain on the narrow path of old-fashioned modesty and uprightness. By now, we are all aware of the controversial Unified Tertiary Matriculation examination taken between April 24 and May 5, 2025 in Nigeria. 78% of the candidates scored below 200 out of the maximum obtainable points of 400. Following a national outcry, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, the supervisory authority for the exams, discovered that human and technical errors affected the result in some parts of the country. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede did what many public officials hardly ever do. He owned up, apologized, promised restitution and remediation. Welcome to Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics. And our topic today is titled Ishaq Oloyede's Cross. My guest, as always, is the acclaimed columnist and author, Azu Ishekwene. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me once again. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, I just dive straight into today's topic. You seem to want to carry Professor Oloyede's cross along with you. If so, why so? And if not, why not?
I think that first, let me say that my heart goes out to Faith, the 19-year-old candidate who took her own life when this thing came. I mean, my heart goes out to her and to her family, and express my profound condolences. And also, my heart goes out to thousands of students across the country who had to retake the exam as a result of that negligence by some staff of JAMB. Now, but having said that, I think it's also important to give a perspective where we're coming from. And you provided a bit of that in your introductory statement. JAMB, since it was set up in 1978, has gone through many phases. Interestingly, and a lot of people don't know this, JAMB was formed not by the government, but by a committee of vice chancellors, and it was formed independently. Before, over time, then of course the government stepped in. But it was basically started as an idea amongst vice chancellors of universities. I think there were 7 of them at that time, to see how they could streamline admissions, right? But now to your question about the cross. Oloyede has been there for 9 years. He's done many great things, for which, which I also express, done many great things to turn the institution around. And as you said also in your intro, in a country where public officers just love the office but hardly do the work, he's been exceptional in his performance. So my heart also goes out to him for the work that he has done, and for which Nigerians have generally applauded him. But having said that, I think that we still wait, because I get a sense that all of this is still under investigation. We still wait to see the full report of the of JAMB into what happened, and how what some had initially misconstrued as a glitch. It was not a glitch, actually, because a glitch would presuppose a failure in the computer system. It was just basically that someone or some people who were supposed to patch or update the systems failed to do so. That really, it was a human problem. It wasn't a problem caused by computers, as some people thought initially.
And a lot of people are now calling for Professor Oloyede to resign. He doesn't.
Oh yes, he also has said publicly that his initial response, especially after the outbreak of what happened, was to resign. Because he also felt deeply, appalled by what had happened, and he felt, to that extent, he wanted to tender his resignation. but that he was persuaded that, resigning would not solve the problem. You are in the midst, you are right in the midst of a problem, and there's it's a pilot, like a pilot flying,
Mid-flight.
mid-flight. You can't abandon
Aircraft.
you can't abandon the aircraft at that point. You have to bring it down safely. So that, I think, is what we should wait to do. I think that it's important to have an investigation, and I'm aware also that part of those involved in this investigation are not necessarily staff of JAMB. So there are people who are independents, who are experts in their field, who have been called in from, to look exactly at what happened and to see how we can prevent a recruit. I think we need to allow this investigation to come to a close and see what lessons can be drawn before we press further on the matter.
All right. Before I ask the next question, I would like to take an excerpt from your column so our audience can follow what we're driving at. And I'll quote: "In a country where lawmakers routinely inflate the appropriation bill by billions of naira, and ministries and government departments are broke, unimaginative, and opaque, Oloyede is a breath of fresh air. He has remitted over 55 billion naira to the Federal Treasury, compared to less than 60 million remitted in the 38 years preceding his tenure." End of quote. So, my next question. To the fundamental concern of our national concern, why do we have this predisposition to turn everything into either politics or religion? Or, why do you think this? Why has a national calamity where students, failed the exam, and a probe was instituted? How has it become a religious or an ethnic issue?
Well, I guess that's where we are at, and it's really very sad. But it's what it is, as they say. But it's also important to keep in mind that what we are discussing here is not just about the financial engineering or re-engineering of JAMB by Oloyede. It's also how he has tried to make the system more accountable, more open, and more transparent by getting independents, people who are not necessarily involved in JAMB, to also help to monitor and evaluate exams and get feedback, see how the system can be improved. So there's a temptation of assuming or thinking that it's just all about how he has made it, how he has turned JAMB into another money spinning venture for the government. I think it's more than that. That's important for the viability and sustainability of, but it's more than the money. But to the question about how we tend to, I think it's basically what happens, especially in the situation in which we find ourselves. There's been a salience of ethnic politics, of politicization or weaponization of religion, and it's something. Identity politics has become such a major problem. It's not only a Nigerian problem, but the salience, especially in recent times in Nigeria's political space, has become something really to. But we have a duty also, as especially civil society and the media, to try and keep within the, stay on the issues, because nothing is gained by trading abuses or, by just retiring to our ethnic or religious enclaves, and when there is an urgent matter like this that needs to be addressed.
All right. To round off, I'll ask finally, Nigeria provides ample opportunity for malfeasance in public office. Do you think there's an opportunity in this to make, especially young Nigerians? Remember, we have over 60% of our population in the youth bulge. Is there any incentive, should I call it, is there a precept in this for young people who don't understand the nuances of public issues, to learn lessons?
Oh yes, absolutely. There is need for us to reflect. I think often before we respond. You also cited initially the article of last week that we wrote about how to crown an impostor. It's amazing the sort of feedback that, and you see clearly from some of the responses that you get to articles, that the responders, with due respect to them, hardly have enough time to read and understand what you are writing about before you jump in. But I think it's also beyond that. I think there is also the matter, in my view, of how the public of pressure, especially peer pressure, insufficient understanding of the system. Because JAMB, as important as UTME results are, it just forms 50% of the entire weighted basis of evaluation of JAMB results, of admission results. And some universities don't even do post-UME. They don't take post-UME. They just use your WASC or your GCU level and then find the average between that. And so the point is that, but we have over time put so much pressure on young people, and young people should also understand it. All admission to university for those who are prepared and those who want it starts with what you do with your WASC or GCU level. That is where it begins. All right. If you get fantastic scores in your UTME, but you don't do well in your WASC or your GCU, then you're not going anywhere.
These days there is also NECO.
And then there's also NECO, you're not going anywhere. So, and then some universities also have post-UME. So it is all of this that is weighted at the end of the day, and then the weighted average is considered as a basis for admission. I think it's important for us to also know that whatever it is we are doing for admission to tertiary institutions, the result of the UTME exam is just one of the factors that we have to consider for admission.
All right, folks, this is where we draw the curtain on this episode of our show. For more on this, visit outrage.com and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our content. Thanks for coming on the show as well.
Thanks for having us again.
Bye for now.
Conversations with Azu Ishekwele.